Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Good afternoon. I am Colonel Patrick Donahue, Uniformed Services University Brigade Commander. Welcome to our 50th anniversary Founders Day celebration. Please stand for the arrival of the official party, followed by the national anthem sung by U.S. Marine Corps Sergeant Destiny Gray, a student in USU's enlisted to medical degree preparatory program, and the invocation delivered by USU Brigade Chaplain Lieutenant Tony Kenearu.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let us pray. Eternal Father, strong to save, we gather here this afternoon to celebrate 50 years since this great university was founded. This is a special moment. We are not blind to the fact that we stand on the shoulders of those who blazed the trail, those who have been here before us. Because of their dedication and hard work, we have made it to 50. For them, we thank you. Over the course of the past 5 decades, our students, faculty members, staff, and alumni have made numerous and vital contributions to healthcare, research, leadership, and policy within the Department of Defense and our great nation. For this and many other achievements, we thank you. For 50 years, our graduates have contributed to the defense of freedom, democracy, and our way of life. For them, we thank you. So look upon us with favor and bend your ear to us as we reflect on where we have been over the last 50 years of growth, examine where we are today, and then look to a future of greatness. Because we know success is never final. This prayer, many others, we ask in your strong name. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Sergeant Gray and Chaplain Kenearu. We are pleased to welcome you to today's ceremony, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the university's founding on September 21st, 1972. I'd like to take a moment to recognize a number of distinguished guests with us today. Rear Admiral Bruce Gillingham, Navy Surgeon General, and a proud USU class of 1986 alumnus. Brigadier General Norman West, Director of Staff for the Defense Health Agency, and a proud USU MPH class of 1997 alumnus representing the Director of the Defense Health Agency. Navy Captain Felix Drew Bigby, Chief of Staff for the NCR Market. Miss Elise Huzar, CEO of the Geneva Foundation. And Miss Hillary Longo, Chief Communications Officer for the Henry M. Jackson Foundation for the Advancement of Military Medicine, representing Henry Jackson Foundation CEO, Dr. Joe Caravallo, also a proud USU class of 1983 graduate. Thank you all for attending. I would like to introduce our speaker for today's ceremony. Their biographies are located in your program. Dr. Jonathan Woodson, President, Uniformed Services University, and the Honorable Constance A. Morella, former U.S. Congresswoman from Maryland's 8th District and former U.S. Ambassador to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Today, we pay tribute to our students, staff, faculty, strategic partners, and supporters who over the past 5 decades have worked to ensure the success of this unique and exciting educational institution. We also recognize our alumni, many of whom are here today, whose leadership and incredible contributions to medicine, nursing, dentistry, allied health, public health, and health education and policy continue to serve as an inspiration for future generations. On September 19th, 2022, Senator Chris Van Hollen entered a tribute for our USU for our 50th anniversary into the congressional record. I'd like to read a few excerpts from his remarks. Mr. President, through the past 5 decades, the Senate has recognized the important role of the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences in maintaining the health and readiness of our nation's uniformed services. Today, I am proud to congratulate this fine institution located in Bethesda in my state of Maryland on its 50th anniversary. USU has met every goal and mission envisioned by the founders of this remarkable institution. Over the past 5 decades, USU has played a critical role in national defense in times of war and peace. USU graduates continue to be integral to combat deployments, humanitarian missions, disaster response, and public health crisis response throughout the world. Over the past 50 years, USU has contributed immeasurably to the health and future of our nation through its stellar education and training programs, its innovative research, and its development of the next generation of military medical leaders and scientists. I'm delighted to recognize and congratulate the students, faculty, and staff of USU for their outstanding work and commitment to serving our country, and my best wishes for a happy golden anniversary to our nation's Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming USU President, Dr. Jonathan Woodson, to the podium. Sir.
Well, good afternoon all, and to this wonderful day and this wonderful celebration. Thank you, Sergeant Gray, for that beautiful rendition. Let's give her a round of applause. And you know, just to begin with, I'm going to share a couple of secrets because it also talks about our evolution. Sergeant Gray is in our Enlisted to MD program, which I consider one of the most advanced thinking programs that give a pathway for our talented, superb enlisted folks to join the professional ranks of medicine. But you can see as she stood up here and sang the pride in the uniform, we have a spectacular future as represented in someone like Sergeant Gray. So thank you so much for being here and adding to the program. The music was just great. And Chaplain, thank you very much for your invocation. I want to turn my attention to this side of the room because we have General West here and Admiral Gillingham, and this is our legacy, okay? 33% of our senior military medical officers are now graduates of Uniformed Services University. So we are delivering on the promise of actually providing and developing the strategic leaders of the future. And that becomes so important today because the complexity of our society, the world, and healthcare requires that kind of educational preparation. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being the types of committed patriots who are leading the way to the future. Let's give them a round of applause. So this year marks the 50th anniversary of the founding of the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences. I feel very fortunate to serve as the 7th president at this time in the institution's history. And although I might have only assumed these responsibilities over the last few months, I have been connected with the Uniformed Services University for 3 decades, really. I came up here as a young reservist captain, believe it or not, and was part of the Society for Military Vascular Surgeons and participated in the Ratten Symposium for trauma and other events, and was totally taken in by the environment, the mission, the people, and actually was shaped as a young officer in terms of my ultimate career goals. Folks like icons like Norman Rich, who helped me think about what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do in vascular surgery. And I always tell this story whenever I can, that when I came up here, really a nobody, I was sitting at a table, and on my right would be Harry Schumacher, and on the other would be Michael DeBakey. And for those of you who don't know, these are real icons in surgery. And they would talk to me as if I were somebody, and encourage and share stories. And I was sold. I was sold. DeBakey had been a great consultant during the Second World War, and Harry Schumacher had done a great deal. And that helped shape my career, my commitments going forward. So this milestone, though, gives me even more reason to express my pride in this extraordinary institution for both its role as a leadership academy for the military medical system and also as a source of opportunities for thousands of students. And that's really what we're about, is providing those opportunities, if you will. I think most of you of all about this very familiar USU history. We've risen from a humble suite of offices above the People's Drugstore on Arlington Road in downtown Bethesda, which is totally changed now, and the classrooms in borrowed space in the old Armed Forces Institute of Pathology in Washington, D.C., to now a world-class health sciences university comprised of 4 schools with multiple campuses and locations around the nation. We now have nearly 20 centers of excellence and a faculty deeply committed to the intellectual rigor and student achievement, and a vast research portfolio, all of which has transformed the lives of more than 11,000 graduates who are serving around the world, and millions more who benefit from the educational and scientific yields of the university. This is a tremendous accomplishment and a tremendous legacy. We have made remarkable strides over the past 50 years, but it's not about resting on our laurels. And here's the thoughts for the future. It's about planning for the next 50 years and beyond, making sure that we are always ahead of the curve, that we always, as an institution, have created the competitive edge that makes people want to come and work in this community, that makes students want to come and learn in this community. And it's about making sure that we are always relevant to the future. There always needs to be, and we always need to ensure that we represent the programs and the value of the institution to the broader Department of Defense, of course, of which we're part of. the military, health system, and government to ensure we get the resources we need to do the work we need to support the department and the national security strategy and the services, and of course, this great nation. The world is moving rapidly. Change is accelerating. We have to understand where the environment is going, or as a great hockey player said, skate to where the puck will be. Because if you're standing still, the sands will shift around your feet. If you think about resting on your laurels, we will lose ground rapidly because things change constantly. So we have to be proactive. We've got to understand how the organization may need to evolve in order to continue that excellence that we've enjoyed and prospered from over the last 5 decades. How are we going to evolve our educational programs to reflect the skills, knowledge, and abilities that our students will need to have and be in order to be relevant going forward in the 21st century? Relevant not only to the military health system, but the Department of Defense and the national security strategy, but relevant to the nation at large, and therefore be ready to lead change in the world. You know, many things have been reshaped by this 4th industrial revolution that we're undergoing. It's driven by digital transformation, data and information systems, and our students must have a deep capability and capacity to understand this in order to be able to be the leaders and be the exceptional professionals that are required for the future. A lot of excellent work goes on here, but as we press forward in terms of our relevancy, we need to know that there's a new emphasis on data science. We need to know there's an emphasis on systems engineering. We need to know that there's an emphasis on emerging biotechnologies. So we should be thinking collectively about increasing our research portfolio to address the needs, these needs, and identifying our strategic partners that are going to be so important to our future. This keeps us relevant. And oh, by the way, it helps us gain new resources to continue this important mission. About a decade ago, I saw a t-shirt in the USU bookstore that said, the USU was the best medical school no one has ever heard of, okay? Well, we need to change that. We need to be widely known as the best health sciences university that everyone knows and everyone desires to be part of. There is an imperative for us to not be modest about who we are, what we do, and what I mean by that is we've got to ensure that the nation and the world understands the excellence here. And this is important for several reasons. First is so that people clearly understand our value and contributions and resource us appropriately. The second reason, though, is the intense competition that there's going to be for students and faculty. You may or may not know that the numbers of students entering secondary education is declining. A number of small colleges have gone out of business over the last few years. There will be an increasing intensity for talented students for universities, and we want to make sure that students know about the quality of the educational environment here at USU, what the faculty are doing that is cutting edge, and what this education offers for their future. We want to ensure that USU is nationally and internationally recognized. Nowhere in the nursing realm, nowhere in the medical realm are other institutions doing what we do to address the societal problems in context. We need to keep on doing what we're doing, but we need to evolve, get better at it, and advertise what we do. Part of ensuring our future success is concentrating on creating an inclusive environment where everyone feels respected, comfortable, and where they can contribute, where they feel like they can succeed. What this means is about putting people first and ensuring that everybody has the potential to succeed in this university. This will contribute to the creating a culture of innovation. And remember, today, you can't innovate effectively if you're working in isolation or in a single domain. Forming inclusive, eclectic, interdisciplinary, and valued teams that can effectively look at addressing complex problems and come up with solutions will continue to drive us forward and build a culture of innovation that is so important, not only to the military health system, but the nation at large. So today, we celebrate our past, but we continue to build on even a more purposeful future, driven by momentum that is driven by our mission, our range of accomplishments as drivers of innovation. As we look back at the first 50 years of achievement, we are already planning for new heights that we can achieve tomorrow. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for contributing to this environment and what you've collectively accomplished over the last 50 years. And now it's my great honor and privilege to introduce the Honorable Constance A. Morella. Congresswoman Morella was a member of the first ever Montgomery County, Maryland Commission on Women. She was elected to the Maryland General Assembly in 1978 and served for 9 years. In 1986, she won election to the U.S. House of Representatives for Maryland's 8th Congressional District, which covered much of Montgomery County, which was more than 60,000 federal employees, including us here at USU, and she has been a tremendous supporter. Congresswoman Morella became chair of the Committee on Science and co-chaired the Women's Caucus of the 104th Congress from 1995 to 1997. In 1997, USU presented her with an honorary degree, which she richly deserved, for her contributions to our academic and research mission. She later became a member of the Committee on Government Reform and serving as chairs of the subcommittee on the District of Columbia during the 107th Congress. In 2002, she left Congress, and a year later, President Bush nominated her for U.S. Ambassador. I should call you Ambassador for Morella, right? Ambassador to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, a position she held for 4 years. Ambassador Morella was appointed to the American Battle Monuments Commission by President Barack Obama in 2010. Currently, she's a faculty member at the American University as an ambassador in residence for Women and Politics, for the Women in Politics Institute. Please welcome Ambassador Morella.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Woodson, Dr. General, President, Secretary. So there, I'm honored to be here and with such distinguished guests and with faculty and staff and friends and students of this wonderful uniformed university. I always want to say Uniform University of Health Sciences, but I now know you always say Uniform University, Uniform Services University, period. I'll try to do that. I'm very honored to be here. I love birthday parties, but I particularly like this birthday party because I can remember at a different epoch during your 50 years where I had an opportunity to intervene and to learn more about the wonderful work that you do. You know, when I first came here and I looked at this room, which wasn't here at the time, the Rice Room, and then I looked at the microphone and I said, now I got to make sure that it is the right height so that I can be heard in the back. Now, why do I say that? Well, just recently with Queen Elizabeth's demise, she did speak at the Capitol. And when she did, she had her hat on, and the way it was set up, all you could see was the hat. So I had become very, because it's timely, I've just become very much interested in making sure that we have a microphone that's at the right height. Or else what Barbara Mikulski used to do, she'd say, I want a stool. So there would be the stool, as some of you remember, that she would stand on when she was addressing a body. So I'm just so pleased to be here to celebrate. I was reminded as I was sitting here, it's so great. Mae West, you don't remember the name, but many, many years ago, Mae West was noted as one of those movie icons. She said, too much of a good thing can be downright enjoyable. And so that's the way I feel. I echo what she said. And yes, 50 years, that's an incredible history, and it's ongoing. I think you remember that, or you have certainly read about the fact that USU was chartered by Act of Congress on September 21st, 1972. That's why you're celebrating that anniversary at this time, right? So this is Founder's Day, and I know you had activities throughout the week here too, and I congratulate you. And we burst with pride at all that you have accomplished, the university and the students and the faculty and those who've been mentors who have helped. As you know, the genesis of USU occurred as a result of the ending of the military draft in 1970. That left a tremendous need for medical personnel and medical care for our nation's military and for their families. You and your predecessors have been competitively chosen. I know the people who are here are very carefully chosen to for your intellect, for your motivation, for your patriotism, and for your passion. And you have made USU the best medical school with a focus on military medicine. You are lucky, I want to say, participants, but partners. And we as a nation are very lucky recipients. Having you on our medical team, we're lucky now more than ever when you think about the atmosphere that you are in. Well, as we look at the history of USU, let me just mention a little bit about her story. I represented, as you have heard from that very elaborate introduction, things I didn't even remember. I did represent Montgomery County, the 8th district. It's still called the 8th district, which included and does include USU in Congress from 1986 to 2003. And in 1994, a national performance task force was established, and it was headed by then Vice President Al Gore. And they were to look at what they could do. They called it reinventing government, but actually what had been suggested was in terms of reducing expenditures, they wanted to cut out USU. They called it government waste. Well, actually, USUS was one of the first on the chopping block. Well, you were part of my constituency. I had already spoken here before that honorary doctorate. I think in 1988, I spoke to a group here. In fact, I found the old program as I was going through some old papers. So I was familiar with what you were doing, and you were my constituents too. And all of that, I thought this was the wrong place to make a cut. And so I went to bat. I won't go into the battle that ensued, but the medical medicine worked. And USUS, I always say USUS, is that okay? Yeah. And USUS continues to grow and to flourish. From 33 students at the start, now more than 11,000 elite healthcare providers. And your mission has expanded. It expanded beyond when I was first involved with you. It's expanded to include a graduate school of nursing, dental, allied health, and it continues to change and to respond to challenges and military health needs. As a matter of fact, I understand a few days ago, I was on the space, as was mentioned, I also served on the Space Committee. And just a few days ago, you celebrated one of your graduates. I think it was Colonel Frank Rubio, who was launched to the space station, and he's going to be there for the next 6 months. And that you can be very proud of that. But you also had, prior to that, you had someone else who went on a space mission too. The first graduate, Colonel Drew Morgan, I think it was, and he was on board at the space station from July 2019, and he returned in April 2020. That's just a sample of the bright people you have that are doing such wonderful things, not only in our country, but in our world. I could go through that, but that would be a whole speech. I'm impressed to learn that 80% of military physicians reaching 20 or more years of military service are USIS graduates, as well as the majority of medical corps leadership. So you do live up to your motto, I saw it carved over, I think it was the garage, the motto, learning to care for those in harm's way. I burst with pride, patriotism at your achievements, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your role in making it a treasure, a true treasure. So since I have the podium, I'm going to take the liberty of just espousing her story, sort of my reflections, anxieties, and hopes before returning the baton. Yes, I'm a political junkie. You could tell because I was trying to work the crowd. And it's got to be, for those of you who may know me, it was a relief to see me going through to shake hands and not asking for money or a vote. Yeah. But as a political junkie, I sometimes referred to as an ex-con. And so, but as a former member of Congress, I believe that I should be both a partner and a critic. As W.B. Yeats once said, because I helped to wind the clock, I came to hear it strike. So still in my heart and mind, I follow what is happening for our country. And I think about it during my 16 years in Congress, I witnessed the fall of the Soviet Union, the beginning of the independence of Ukraine at that time, the end of apartheid in South Africa, Tiananmen Square in China, Chris Patton given over Hong Kong to the Chinese, the crisis in Afghanistan, the HIV/AIDS epidemic, 9/11, the World Trade Center, even an impeachment. Yeah. So these events have brought about changes in the world, some of whom effects, both positive and negative, and their aftermaths continue and are still with us. So allow me to share with you, our leaders, some contemporary anxieties and concerns that I harbor. Okay, our history is one of representatives of different parties, different opinions, working for common ground. You know, I do believe Congress is the people's house, and there is a sign in the entrance attributed to Hamilton. In this house, sir, the people govern. And that is what it was meant to be. The art of getting things done requires compromise, negotiation, and recognition that the views of others have merit. I would ask members of the opposite party to become co-sponsors and support legislation that I introduced that I felt was important for my constituency and for the country. And they in turn would do the same with me. There was never a piece of legislation introduced that didn't have both parties represented on it. And that's how things got done. And despite great advances in technology, advances in medicine and other areas, I think things are a-changing. The greatest challenge that Congress and our entire society is facing is one word: polarization. Do you agree? Polarization, when you think of all of its implications. We must listen, learn, and lead. I often say, you know, we got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So maybe that says something about the importance of doing the listening in order to learn, in order to lead. And then I think, you know, George Washington, our first president, actually before he was president, he made copies of rules and regulations for civility. And number one rule was, when in the company of others, act with respect for those who are present. You know, and I think of that and I think that's still very, not only important, it is critical that we do that we show respect for others. As we look at what's happening, I have sensed, and I think you have too, that breakdown in civil discourse. My side must win, and I'm not going to listen to the other side. There is no other side. Even refusing people the opportunity to speak at various occasions because you don't like their views. That's not very American. It's not very open-minded. It's not showing respect. Compromise is seen too often as surrender. Baloney. It used to be a good word. Now you have to be careful about the connotation of that word compromise. It's like you're giving in. You're not giving in. You're offering to come to a solution. So rather than recognizing that the views of others have merit, we close our ears, which closes our hearts to others' views. And this blockout is seen. It's seen in social media, sending wild messages, fake news, the falsehood epidemic. And we begin to wonder, who can we trust? You have sensed that among your friends also. Who do we or can we trust? Even elections are questioned. And you can tell I used to teach English. I love quoting. I love, it's like Fielding once said, "Damn those ancients, they've stolen my thoughts." But so I will quote Mark Twain. Mark Twain said, "A lie can go halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes." Think about that, how a lie can spread. And that's the atmosphere we're in. I realize that this atmosphere has been exacerbated by the pandemic. You people really know, since you're there in the heart of it and you're doing something about it, and I applaud you for it. There's anxiety and concern about the economy on top of that, job changes, inequities, information technology. The list goes on. You could add to that list. And yet, despite these anxieties, I have hope. I have hope that it is with leaders like you and what is happening here at USIS, all that you represent, that things are going to get better. We have advanced significantly. I don't mean to demean it at all. We have advanced significantly. I mean, even in the car I'm driving, I have a GPS that tells me how to get places. And when you think about how the technology has affected us in everything that we do, remedies for diseases, technology in areas, even medical operations being done on the internet, et cetera. And the list, as you could add to, goes on. Inequities still exist. There's poverty, health, corruption, et cetera. I agree, I should say, JFK. I was looking at some old papers and I noticed that he had quoted from the Bible at one point, but I think it's appropriate. He said, "To those to whom much is given, much is expected." And so good luck to you on this challenging voyage, which will include some failures. I just think that we have to know that we will gain from failures too. Failures can be stepping stones. I have confidence in you. You can take on the challenge and you can make an impact, as you have been. Your education, the education that's applied here, your humanity, your values, your confidence in yourself have given you the strength and determination to contribute to making the world a better place. So go for it. you know. I just want to close with, I was at the Naval Academy recently, and I know you've got all the services here, but there is now a building name for Grace Hopper. It's the first building name for a woman, and she was Admiral Grace Hopper. I became familiar with her when I headed the Y2K Commission. Actually, some good things happened from that. We got companies to jazz up their computer systems, and we learned that government and the private sector can work together. But at any rate, so there is there's a building named for her. She was the one who invented cobalt, et cetera. She was an extraordinary woman. But she said, a ship in shore is safe, but that's not what ships are for. Sail on. And so I guess I would leave you with that point, that as we celebrate you and congratulate you, sail on together. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
As a small token of our deep appreciation for all that you've done for USU and your willingness to come today and share some words of wisdom with us, we'd like to present you with this small token of our appreciation, which is an etching of the USU logo. Hopefully you'll put it in some place that you'll always think about us as you go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You know that I don't know how it happened, but there's a library in Bethesda, and they're going to set up a showroom. It's the town hall library. They're going to set up a room where I'm going to be able to put some stuff, memorabilia, or whatever. This will go there.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now would ask Ms. Sharon Holland, Deputy Vice President for External Affairs, to come to the podium for a special presentation.
Right, so in 1997, we stood outside in the courtyard amphitheater for a similar ceremony so we could mark the university's 25th anniversary. As part of that celebration, we collected a number of articles from throughout the university community that were placed in a time capsule, which was buried in the Alumni Memory Garden between buildings A and D. The area was marked with this plaque, which was inscribed as follows. Here lies buried a time capsule of the Uniformed Services University of the Health Sciences in the year 1997, sealed and consecrated on September 22nd, 1997, amidst the celebration of her first 25 years of existence, to be disinterred and examined on September 22nd, 2022. Below that is a quote. It says, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." T.S. Eliot. Well, we're off a day in opening the time capsule. And the time capsule actually was more like a giant toolbox. And so earlier today, I opened that giant toolbox. And unfortunately, everything in that giant toolbox was soaking wet and ruined. I know, except for these. So this is a coffee mug from 1997 and an original brick from the university's founding. So those are the only two items that have sustained 25 years underground in wet, moist soil. So sorry to our university archives. We'll do better next time. So in the meantime, We've collected some documents and items from 2022 that we will place into a new time capsule, which we will put back into the ground in something that's a little bit more hardy that we will then open on the university's 75th anniversary in 2047. So here's hoping that we will all be back for that one. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I draw your attention to the screens at the front of the room and join me as we watch a video highlighting some of our people, programs, and achievements over the past 50 years. What an incredible video highlighting our tremendous university. Now, Lieutenant Caniaro will return to the podium to deliver the benediction.
Let us pray. Eternal Father, strong to save, because of the dedication and commitment of those who went ahead of us, we fly our university's colors with pride. Help us in turn to bring energy, faith, and dedication to the mission of our university and our great nation. Help us not to shrink from our mandate to protect the warfighter and thus the nation. And should the fury and might of the enemy be turned against our nation, help us to take our post with courage, honor, and commitment. We now dedicate this university to you by faith. Establish it immovable, strong, and fearless. Help us to stay at the cutting edge of knowledge, research, and innovation. Help us to remember that excellence is never an accident, but the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines our destiny. So give our leaders wisdom and strength to make good choices, and then give us patience to what you're doing. Bless the current body of the university, those who call her alma mater. Bless our civilian and military leaders, the leaders of this university, and bless this United States. It is in your name that we ask. Amen.
Amen. On behalf of the entire USU community, I would like to once again thank Ambassador Morella for speaking today. It was an honor. I would also like to thank many distinguished guests and all who have taken the time out of your busy schedules to join us to celebrate this milestone anniversary. And last, I ask that you join me in a round of applause for the many behind-the-scenes organizers of today's and this week's events. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. Please join us in the Hall of Flags for cake and coffee. Thank you.